Fire Call, the fire safety show with Division Chief Jim Sideras.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sideras, and you are watching Fire Call. And this month we are road tripping. We're going to the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. You're going to hang with me and go through my class, learn a little about what happens at the National Fire Academy, which is the mecca of fire service education. And then we're also going to be doing some water rescue with the boys from Rescue 10. So, hang with me a second. Going to get some shout-outs done. This shout-out goes to Kyle. Kyle wants a shout-out to the Philadelphia Fire Department. Interestingly enough, one of my instructors at the Fire Academy was Phil McLaughlin, the Deputy Fire Commissioner. So this one goes out to you, Kyle. And this next one goes to Christina. Christina wants a shout-out to the Durham Fire Department in Durham, Connecticut. Now, if you want a shirt, we send these out for people that send in questions and shout-outs. You're going to have to stay to the end of the show, and we'll show you how to do it. So sit back, spend some time with us at Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, and hang with the crews all across town. I'm here at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And this is a place where firefighters come from all over the world to learn the newest and latest developments on how to be a safer firefighter, how to oversee huge incidents, and just to get up to latest on what's going on around the world and some of the newest techniques to manage fires. You get together with your group, you learn more things, you have structured class sessions that you take to be able to provide a better service back home. I'm in the EFO program and I just love it. This is my third year of 4 years, and I'm going to take you into that classroom, meet some of my colleagues from all over the world. We even have a guy from Australia who's here for 4 weeks, and hopefully you can see what the fire service learns. This is like our college. This is, for you, brainiacs, this is the Harvard of the fire service. So sit back and show you what we got here in Emmitsburg. This is a spot in 1979 that President Jimmy Carter enacted public law to provide for the advancement of the fire service. In 1979, this was dedicated, and they bought this campus just for that purpose. While at the Fire Academy, I was fortunate enough to interview Dennis O'Neill, the supervisor of the National Fire Academy. How many people do you have going through each year, roughly, through the Fire Academy?
In the Fire Academy, we train about 8,000 people in residence a year. We have a sister school on campus, the Emergency Management Institute, and they train about 8,000 people as well. But most of the men and women who attend the National Fire Academy never see this place. They attend through our off-campus deliveries. We trained last year 85,000 students.
Wow.
To give you a perspective on that, the FBI's National Academy trains about 1,000 local police officers a year. We train about 85,000 local firefighters a year.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people say, well, the Fire Academy is for metro departments or for larger departments. What would you say to that? And then the process is, who sponsors it when we show up for training?
Sure. The truth of the matter is that the majority of the fire service is small, volunteer and rural departments. About 80% of the nation's fire service is volunteer. So it's not true that our students are primarily metro-sized fire departments. Nothing could be further from the truth. If anything, I would suggest that the metro departments are underrepresented because union contracts and overtime issues and things like that. So when men and women apply to come to the National Fire Academy, we explain to them that we will pay their way to and from the school. We'll put them up in a private room, a private bath, remote-controlled color TV, and
great food.
Great food, and all of that is covered by your tax dollars. The training is provided for free, so the only expense to the student is actually the cost of food.
So we encourage everybody in the fire service to come to the NFA and get the best training in the world.
Well, Jim, I believe that, and but all I say to folks is try us once. I know you'll be back. But a lot of people are concerned about coming out here. They're intimidated. They think that they're not going to be, or they're not from a big enough department, or they don't have enough experience. And the truth of the matter is that when you come here, there are no ranks. We don't wear uniforms. Everybody's equal. More than likely, you'll be in a class with 25 other strangers, people that you don't even know. And we get into the process of exchanging ideas and interviewing people and finding out about what they do, I think students learn probably 25 to 30% of what they learn from the other students in the classroom.
This is hallowed ground for the fire service. This is the memorial for all fallen firefighters. Every year, a bronze plaque goes up with all the names of the firefighters that died that year. There is an eternal flame glowing 24 hours a day to keep the memories of those men and women alive. This site was dedicated in 1981 by President Ronald Reagan to give recognition to those firefighters that lose their lives every year. These are some of the plaques that recognize all the firefighters that died. People actually leave things. This is the plaque for 9/11, and this is visited by thousands of firefighters every year. As firefighters come to the National Fire Academy to take their courses to learn more, they always come here to remember the fallen firefighters that have given their lives, and hopefully we can learn from what's happened in the past, and also try not to make some of the same mistakes that might have cost lives before. The education process is a pretty steep learning curve for the fire service because it's something that there's no do-overs. If we make a mistake, lives are truly in the balance. It's not like we can wait for stock prices to rebound or we can wait for the economy to change. For us, almost all those decisions that are made on the fire ground are truly life and death. There's no do-overs. You can't go back and say, "God, let's try something different." Everything has a consequence, and that's why the job of being a firefighter, being in the fire service, is such a core element of our communities because we provide such a valuable service. This is amazing. I'm in class. One of my classmates is Stephen. Stephen, you're from?
Australia.
And what do you think of the whole program so far?
Well, I'm here doing the Executive Fire Officer program, and it's a real great opportunity for me to learn about America and American firefighting, and perhaps give a bit of my culture and Australian firefighting back to you guys here in the States.
What do you think is the difference, or what differences have you seen between Australian firefighters and American firefighters?
Well, in a lot of respects, there's not many difference. They all play practical jokes. They've got a strong bond, a strong fellowship, and a strong degree of mateship. And so from that perspective, there's not much difference at all. There's probably a little bit of difference in our cultures and our attitude towards firefighting. We take probably a much more prevention approach in a lot of the way we do our business. But effectively,
what do you mean by that?
Well, effectively, we would do what we call a risk assessment, a dynamic risk assessment, before we would make a decision to go and do an internal firefight. We would not compromise the safety of our firefighters in any circumstances at all. And that's an ethic that we have right throughout our industry. And it's fair to say that's probably not just Australia, but in New Zealand and other Western countries. Where here I think it's subtly different, that if there's a risk to be gained, then it's worth taking the risk. Where I know in Australia we wouldn't take that risk.
What's this program offer you, or what are you going to take back from it when you go back to Australia?
Well, obviously the learnings. A lot of people want to know about America. You know, it's such a big country, and there's so many people, and the size of your trucks, and the size of your equipment, and the type of the people, and not dissimilar to the questions you're asking me now. People want to know about this country. They want to know the systems you use. We use a system called AIMS. You use a system called NIMS. There's parallels between the two, and people want to know the differences. People want to know about the culture of our firefighters.
And we want to know all about Australia. It's like, tell us more.
Well, we have kangaroos, and we've got koalas and wombats, and all that sort of thing. Australia, effectively, is, if you imagine a country the same size as your continent, same size as America, but only a tenth of the people living there. You have about 230 million people. We have about 22 million people living in our country, and a lot of those are on the seaboard. So effectively, if you like, in the central Australia, there's very few people living there compared to, say, in America. So the demographic is a lot different from a country perspective. We're so much smaller in the number of people, but certainly just as big geographically.
Well, Stephen, thank you. And we have something very special because we have so many people emailing us from Australia. You're on.
Well, I've got a shout out today for the guys at Kangaroo Flat, which is just out of Bendigo in Victoria, which is my home state in Australia. So the guys at Kangaroo Flat, you get the shout out.
And they actually sent a question while we were here at the Fire Academy.
They did too.
Great. Thank you, Stephen.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, Jim.
I'm with Mike Senchena. We spent the last 2 weeks sitting next to each other in a class all about major incidents. And Mike's from Vancouver, Canada.
No, Vancouver, Washington.
I knew it. I just had to just... Mike, tell us, what did you learn in this class, and what did you take back?
It was a great class.
What did we learn?
It was essentially how to organize and manage major disasters, things that kind of go beyond the normal everyday shopping center or fire or something, and can impact the whole region and decimate a department in a city if you don't know how to organize and plan early on.
When you came here, did you learn a lot of new things, or is this just a rehash of stuff you knew before?
It reinforced things that my community's had some disasters, and because of those has done a lot of training. So not a lot of it was totally new, but what I asked at the outset, because they all asked what sort of positions we'd like to work, I asked to be put into some of the positions that I've never worked before.
That's what I did too.
PIO and some planning spots, and that was great. I was able to really test myself in areas that I'd never actually worked in before.
Yeah, and I noticed as the incidents got bigger and more complex, we were all kind of in those territories that we were pushing our level of comfort. We have a few questions about water rescue, so we are at fire station number 10, home of USAR 10, our favorite captain, Captain Jay Titus.
Well, thank you, Jim.
I love you, Jay. And you can see the folks in the background. We're doing some water rescue training. This question comes from Benjamin. Benjamin lives in Far Rockaway, New York. And he wants to know, does Sioux Falls Fire Rescue have any boats? And what are they used for? And do we have boats? Tell us about the boats, Jay.
Well, Jim, we have two inflatable Zodiac boats. The one that you can see in the background, and we have another one that's identical to it. Here in Sioux Falls, we use jet drive engines on them, which means no propeller.
Great.
They have an enclosed propeller that forces the water out through an outlet in the back, almost like a jet engine, except you're using water.
So it sucks it in and shoots it out.
Right, and that's what does the propulsion on the boat.
Okay. Which is nice for what reason? Why do we
Well,
want to do that?
For two reasons in Sioux Falls. A lot of our, they asked about body of waters. We have Skunk Creek and the Sioux River that flows through the city limits. Typically throughout the year, they're fairly shallow, so we need a boat and a motor that won't draft very much underneath the surface of the water, so we can get out from the shallows into the deeper water.
And we have a lot of granite around here, so we don't
Correct.
want to take out
a lot of rocks. And then the biggest reason for it is when we're doing rescue work, we don't have to worry about getting our patient into our prop while we're doing a rescue.
Now you're almost one of these rescue daddies. You've been on every rescue truck.
Yep.
How long have you been in the department?
18 years, and I've been doing rescue for 16.
And do you like it?
Love it.
Would you do it again?
Oh, yeah.
What advice would you have for a guy like Benjamin about getting into the rescue field?
Well, I had my choice between hazmat and rescue, and I'm not very good at chemistry, so...
Okay, Jay. Now, when we're working with these boats, what are things that we have? I mean, right now these guys are just having fun out there. What are some of the real concerns we have when we're looking, either doing an operation for looking for someone who might be submerged, might be drowned? What are some of the things we have to consider when we start to do those kind of operations?
Well, typically we follow a rescue sequence, and it goes reach, throw, row, then go. Basically what that means is if we can reach them with an object from shore, we'll do that first. Then if we can reach them by throwing a throw rope to them, which we carry on USAR 10, our truck that comes with the boats, we'll throw a rescue rope to them, bring them into shore. Then the row part means the next step in the sequence would be actually put a boat in the water and go after them. And then the very last one, a go rescue, is when we have to actually send a rescuer into the water himself to effect the rescue, which is the most dangerous. That's why any shore-based operation is a lot more safer for our guys. And then depending on how the incident plays out, we may have to risk more to save more and actually put a rescuer in the water.
And once that rescuer comes up to that person in the water, that person's going to want to get out of the water and actually push the rescuer down in some cases, so they have to be highly trained on what to do in those scenarios.
Correct. So they don't get into trouble themselves once they get to the patient. It's also our policy, anytime we're near the water, we have to wear a personal flotation device.
You bet.
It doesn't matter how good a swimmer you are. These guys, before they come, water rescue technicians have to take a swim test, things like that. But when we're out doing a rescue, they're still using their proper protection equipment.
This next question comes from Thomas. Thomas lives in Pass Christian, Mississippi. And I can tell he's from Mississippi. He wants to know, ready, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Do y'all have a dive rescue team? Do we have one?
No.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, move on. No, Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, we do not have our own dive rescue team, but Minnehaha County Civil Defense does.
Which is where we're part of.
We're part of Minnehaha County, and we try to train at least annually with the dive team. And there's a lot of different times throughout the year that we work together.
Now, do they dive off our boats, or do they have their own boats?
They do have one of their own boats, but there's been quite a few times in the past where they have used our boats.
And the inflatables make nice platforms for divers.
Right,
nice stable
right.
platforms.
And normally what they'll do is, especially if they're diving in the river, a lot of times they'll be tethered. We'll tend their lines for them. Just support them any way we can.
And as we talk about equipment, this is going to lead us right into our next section, Truck of the Month.
Use our tail.
Okay, Jay, this is USAR 10. Now, it's a four-wheel drive truck. Tell us a little bit about this truck.
Well, it's a four-wheel drive, one-ton truck, and basically it hauls all of our water rescue and high-angle equipment for this station, and we use it to tow the boats.
Okay.
To get back to where we need to. A lot of times, depending on whether it's on Skunk Creek or the Sioux River, a lot of those areas aren't very easily accessed, so we have to do a little four-wheeling to get back to there.
Well, Ryan, you're on deck. Crack open a cabinet. Let's see the compartments.
Basically, what you're going to see on this side is our high-angle side of the truck.
Okay.
We carry some rescue rope, Stokes basket if we have to remove somebody in a high-angle environment. If he opens the next door, there's also the personal bags that have all of our harnesses and different things we use for high-angle rescue. And then also you'll see that there's some rope in the back that's yellow, it's different colored. That's our actual water rescue rope.
The polypropylene?
Correct, and the only difference, it's not quite as strong as the rope we use for high-angle rescue, about half the strength, but it floats.
Sure.
But it floats. All right, and back here again, some more high-angle equipment, different rigging bags that we use when we're rigging anchors. All right, now coming around to the back of the truck, inside we carry more of our water rescue equipment. The first item you might see that our Seniority Challenge firefighter, Ryan Rauch, who's got approximately 7 months on the job, is we have a line launcher gun.
Haul it out, Ryan. Here's your first question. Okay, are you ready?
We'll try.
Okay, open your line launcher. Tell us how far that you can shoot that line, Ryan. And what's the variable about distance?
The variable would be on your angles and the wind and all that, and I believe it's 600 feet is the rope.
Ryan, I owe you a soda pop. That was going to be your trick question. I didn't think you were going to get it. Have you shot the line gun yet?
Yes.
Really? What'd you think?
Just like a shotgun. It's got the same kick as a shotgun does.
So for a man your size, it was barely noticeable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it hurt.
If you look at that line launcher, just a second, Ryan. What it is, it's a single shot 45-70 cartridge is what it shoots, and it actually fires the brass rod that Ryan's holding right now. And then attached to it, you'll see a little bit of the string that's on that one. That's actually in the canister on the front of the gun. And so what we'll do is if we need to get some lines across the river, we'll shoot a line across with the smaller lightweight line, and then we'll attach two half-inch Kernmantle ropes to it and pull them back across, and it just gives us a real quick way of deploying ropes across the river.
Designed by the Navy to link up supply ships to military ships.
Correct,
right?
Yep, made by Bridger.
Okay,
So,
Ryan. Let's see what
and
else
we
got in
actually
there.
have 2 of those on the department.
Oh, you know what? One of our shows, we actually shot off for a hazmat spill crossing the river.
Yep, we'll use it for that to pull the booms across. Okay, next item we'll have Ryan get is a cold immersion suit. And what we use these for is here in sunny South Dakota during the winter, we get some pretty frigid temperatures. A lot of times here it'll be below 10 below zero. So if we have to do an ice rescue, this is the outfit that the rescuer will wear. And these were also designed by the Navy. for surviving immersion into the oceans if a ship went down.
The first ones, the old orange ones, were actually designed for the North Sea.
Correct.
Oil rigs.
Yep.
And they keep you warm, unless you have a pinhole leak, and you can
That's
find
right.
that right away.
Yes. And so earlier in the show, we were talking about the rescue sequence of, reach, throw, roll, then go. When we do an ice rescue, a lot of times the patients will become hypothermic before we can get to them. So it really doesn't leave the reach, throw,
Because
roll.
they can't physically hold on to a rope at all.
Correct. So that is the one case where a lot of our ice rescues or go rescues where we'll actually put a rescuer in this immersion suit, put a line on him to tether him so we can always help pull him back in, and he'll actually physically go out, slide across the ice, get into the water, and get to the patient.
And probably this winter we'll come out, we'll throw Ryan in the ice, cut a hole in the ice, toss him in, and maybe we'll do some rescuing with him.
See how he does, and we'll give him one
You
of
up
our
for that?
leaky suits, too.
Yeah.
Then another item is we have throw bags, and pretty simple device, but we actually have these on every engine company in Sioux Falls besides us, and a lot of times you can affect a water rescue just with this simple device.
Because Sioux Falls is surrounded by water, essentially. Any truck could be a first in on a water rescue.
Correct. The river runs through just about every engine company's response territory. So if they can get out there and if the patient isn't that far out, they can throw this throw bag to them, patient holds onto it, and we just pull them to shore.
Sure.
And we've actually effected a few rescues that way.
Okay.
And probably last item we'll show is one of our wetsuits. And when we use the wetsuits are during the summertime.
Now,
when the guys are
difference
out.
between, it's pretty obvious, but the difference between a wetsuit and a dry suit.
Yeah, like you said, it's obvious, but
You get
the
wet wearing the wetsuit.
That's right. You get wet wearing the wetsuit, but they do add a little bit of thermal protection in
Sure,
there.
that water essentially gets between the neoprene and your body, warms up a little bit, so it works really well.
Yeah,
But
because
for an ice rescue, you're not going to last very long.
right, and the thing is, even in the summertime in South Dakota, if you look at a lot of our bodies of water, the water temperature is probably in the 70s. You can even get hypothermic in that warmer water. So the guys will wear a wetsuit.
Tell us about the boat.
Well,
this is one of two.
One of two of our Zodiac boats. Like we talked about earlier, we kind of went with the inflatables because they fit our response area. A lot of times we'll have shallower water that we have to get through to get into the deeper channels of the river or Skunk Creek, or even if we're doing a lake rescue. And the Zodiacs fit the bill. They're very light. And Jim, you were in water rescue earlier in your
bet.
career. A lot of places on the Sioux River, we just don't have boat ramps every half mile.
And four people can pretty much hump this down about anywhere it needs to go.
Right. We can carry it down. The Sioux River has a lot of trees near it. We can carry this right down through the trees and launch it right in the
Now, I know
water.
Thomas is going to ask about par buckling. So let's just talk about this. And if we need to have Ryan back over here because he's kind of the
guru.
he knows everything. And darn it, he's just so fun too. Tell us about this.
Yeah, par buckling is just a fancy term for extricating someone from the water into the boat.
Sure.
And in the old days, like you probably remember, we actually had to use ropes to do this. And I think that we've probably seen it in a rescue magazine here in Sioux Falls, but we'd seen an article where they were using plastic snow fence.
And we have lots of that in South Dakota.
Yeah, we don't get any snow, so we use it for this.
So essentially, we're going to bring the body up next to the boat.
Correct. And we'll usually come in.
And they'll be in the water, of course.
They'll be in the water, and we'll usually come in so that they're head first. And we'll bring the boat right alongside them, and they'll actually slide right into this net. Once they get into it, where we think we've got them secure, we just pull on the two pieces of webbing and pull them right into the boat.
Works very good.
Works very well.
Getting someone in a boat, especially a body, can be quite a chore, especially
if they're unconscious.
they're unconscious, the water's cold, there's just all those issues.
Yep. And kind of a unique feature on these boats, we carry one of these boats uninflated, and we actually usually will set it inside this boat, but these boats have a quick fill system, We're designed for rescue.
So this is a quick fill system right here.
Right, it's just a scuba tank, just your regular scuba tank attached, and we can hit one valve. We just have to turn a couple valves up here to inflate, and it'll inflate this entire boat in a matter of, well, probably less than a minute.
Sure. Let's talk about the one thing I want to talk about, because I know everyone's going to want to know. We talked about the jet drives. Explain the jet drive to us. Now, this is just bungee corded here, but
yeah, that's just to secure it while we're in transport. But this particular engine that's on this boat is a 30-horse Johnson Rescue Pro, and it's a little different style jet drive than the other two engines we use. But as you can see, it doesn't have an exposed prop. It actually has an impeller inside, and it has a water intake.
So the water intakes can come in through the bottom?
Correct. The water comes in through the front here, and the shaft of the motor runs that impeller, and then it shoots the water out in a stream behind it.
So if I'm, worst case scenario where we don't want to be here, but if I'm in the water here, I'm not going to have to worry about a prop or anything hitting me.
Correct, and it works good for our guys, because if they do have to go in the water, you've trying to get into this boat without a ladder, a lot of times they'll use the motor as a ledge to help them get up in the boat.
They shouldn't. When times are tough,
when you need to get out. And the other style of jet drive is what we have on the stand right over here. And we have two motors of this type. They're both 20-horse jets. And they're just a little different. The intake on these is actually on the bottom, and the impeller's in here, and then they shoot the water right out the back, similar to that one.
And all this does is you just control.
Right. This clapper here controls which way the stream's moving.
Sure. So this might be in reverse or forward.
Correct.
Now the National Fire Academy is where that fallen firefighter memorial is. And if you watch the end of the show, past the credits, you're going to see the firefighters that died in the line of duty this month. It's really important that we remember those firefighters and what service they provided, because that's what our society is built on, is giving service to mankind and doing the right thing. So watch the end of the show and you'll see the firefighters every month that gave their lives saving others. Now we got a couple more shout outs, talk about t-shirts. Now if you got these shout outs, if the town looks kind of tough, help me out, write on how to pronounce these towns. But this shout out goes to Stefan, and Stefan wants a shout out to the Limestone Fire Department in Kankakee, Illinois. And this is a tough one. This is from Dave in Canada. He wants, and this is kind of neat. Dave writes that he's actually decided on a career choice based on what he's seen on Fire Call, and he wants to be a firefighter. So good for you, Dave. Now let's move to some place that I can pronounce. Dave wants a shout out to the Kankakee Manjani. He wants a shout out to the Manjani Fire Rescue Service in I can't even say it. Rama Manjanine in Canada. Help me out on this one. We can't figure out what this one says, and no one in the crew can figure it out either. But Dave, you're getting a shirt from Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Now, if you want one of these shirts, you got to help me out a little bit. Send in your questions, send in your shout-outs, and we'll try and figure it out. Hey, I had a good time doing this, as always. My name's Division Chief Jim Sideras, and you've been watching Fire Call.